It is one of the most popular genres within the photography industry, which can also be known as portraiture. This is the art of capturing the personality and emotions of the subject or person you are photographing. Although there is much more to portraiture than a simple shutter click. The photographer will often have a selective placement for the lighting, whether it's hitting the background or the subject themselves. They are also controlling where the image will be taken, for example if the subject will blend in with the background or stand out to what's behind them. This is the same for the composition and potential posing they might be doing. Each of these elements will work together to create an almost seamless portrait to the artist or client's desire. Now we know what portrait photography is. How did it come about to what it is today? The earliest I could think of its origin is in the Egyptian times. They would draw pharaohs and depict them as gods to everyone around them. This was the same with the Greeks, Romans, and until the medieval times. These portraits were portraying the true beauty and essence of perfection. But you could only be painted the higher up in society you were. The expense of getting your portrait done would already be showing the wealth and importance of their time. In 1839, Robert Cornelius's daguerreotype is believed to be one of the earliest self-portraits. This was significant as instead of painting the person in front of them, it was the reality of who they really are, no longer able to change their appearance. Throughout the forthcoming decades, portrait photography was used to express the person inside of the frame, instead of photojournalism. In 2021, modern portraits can be seen nearly everywhere on social media, mainly of celebrities who can be seen as the gods of today. Although, with the evolving technology, portraiture has been modernised with the self-portrait selfie. The main reason for the rapid growth of portrait photography is the new technology. In the beginning of photography, the daguerreotype was the only way to capture a photo. But to do this was a result of an 8-hour exposure with the world's first camera. Whereas today, nearly everyone has access to a device that can take a photo in seconds, whether it's a smartphone camera or a digital camera. A modern portrait photographer I would be exploring the work of is Martin Scolia. Scolia is a 52-year-old German portrait photographer, best known for his extremely close-up portraits. This contains a series of portraits in which very well-known faces, also known as celebrities, are managed with the same study and involvement as the unfamous. These portraits are his most recognisable work due to the similar lighting, backdrop and composition in every photo. This series emphasises the equality in facial features of his subjects, which range from homeless to world leaders, although Scolia is able to level them all into the same democratic fashion. As well as this, he also has a creative portrait series, where he allows the subjects to express themselves individually. Another famous photographer I have looked into is Herb Ritts Jr. Herb Ritts was an American fashion photographer and designer, one of the most famous photographers in the 1980s and 90s. Some of his work concentrates on the black and white portraits. These portraits would often capture in the style of a classical Greek sculpture. This would spotlight the human body shape. Although he is best known for his series The Rock Portraits, containing portraits from music icons such as David Bowie, Prince, Madonna, Paul McCartney and Tina Turner. Each image photographed in natural light with his elegance and minimalist photography. Ritts' legacy of portrait photography will live on, as his work is displayed as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Some people assume when taking a portrait photograph, you are only allowed to frame around the face. This will limit every photographer's work, as well as captivating the subject's ability to express themselves in their own unique way. However, looking back into Martin Scolia's portrait photography, he has done an amazing job at capturing a playful image while still being able to distinguish the subject. After researching deeper into the industry of portrait photography, I have selected a few of my own attempts. The first image is an extreme close-up portrait. I personally like this portrait as it captures the subject's emotions and high-spirited facial expression. One thing about the image is that it was taken landscape instead of portrait, as well as the subject being a little over to the left instead of the centre of the image. My second image is a full body portrait, where I edited the background to be in black and white, but the subject in colour. This enables the subject to stand out from the background and to focus on her. My final portrait is another image taken horizontally. Although this is an unconditional way of taking a portrait, the framing allows the image to keep the cornrows within. This adds depth to the portrait. Here is a quick interview I did with professional practitioner Steve Bell.
Well, first question to me, do you believe there is a certain way to go about the framing and composition when taking portrait photography? So in answer to your question, technically speaking, yes. The way that you see images with your eyes, you like to focus naturally. You don't realise it, but you like to naturally focus on certain elements of the picture. Some rules are called, say, the rule of thirds, or looking into empty space, all these other bits and pieces. But ultimately, no, you can take a portrait photograph in any way that you like, because if it conveys the message that you're trying to put across, that's all that matters. Hopefully that answers that question. Second question, why do you think portrait photography is popular today? So to answer this question, I believe the internet and social media is probably the biggest draw. In my day, because I'm about 8 times your age, we used to shoot everything on film. It would be printed in a dark room and then put in a picture frame and hung on the wall above the fireplace, so Granny had pictures of her grandkids. Today, especially now with mobile phone technology, everybody is sharing everything, and how people look in pictures, either of themselves or they've taken of somebody else, is a big selling point. So taking pictures of each other and correct lighting, composition, etc., is becoming more critical to make your picture stand out. So I believe they're more popular purely because of social media.
Portrait photography is important in the industry, as it's a good place to document the society of today, as well as creating professional portrait photos for businessmen and businesswomen, always capturing people's natural image and true essence of their beauty.